Hello to all my sensational students. Welcome to Bloom and Grow Education. My name is Meredith Dickinson. Today's a little bit of a special lesson because I'm going to show you the kinds of activities I do in my World of Wordcraft program. So this program is for anyone, but it's primarily for gifted and talented children who want to excel in their writing. We practice our writing skills like vocabulary and figurative language and bringing emotion into the story. And we study the works of other previous award-winning students and we read their stories and see what we can learn off them. And then we write our own writing pieces and then submit them into competitions. There are all kinds of writing competitions just for children all throughout the year. So children who do this program have got that little bit of extra drive, a little bit of extra purpose as well by entering their writing into this competition. So today's lesson is from an activity that I've done with one of these very students. She's preparing her writing piece for entrance into the Tim Winton writing competition, which is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Now I can actually help her write the piece itself because that wouldn't be fair, but I can help her with her writing strategies that she will then use when she writes the piece to enter it. So we've been working on her descriptive writing piece and she's decided that she wants to write it about her parrot. So she's got these two cute little parrots that she's got at home as pets and she wants to write a beautiful story about it. So I've been helping her with her descriptive writing skills so that when she actually goes to write that piece, she's got lots of beautiful vocabulary that she can contribute towards it. So I'm going to do that same lesson with you so that you can see some of the tricks of how I've helped her improve her vocabulary. It'll help you to write something amazing yourself. And if you would like to come and join my World of Wordcraft program, you're very welcome. It's available for years 3 to year 6 and you can check it out on my website bloomgrow.com.au and you'll be able to find out all the details there. I'd love to have you come and join me in this. And the program's Australia-wide too, so even if you're not here in little old Western Australia, you can still zoom in and we can have our lesson together. Alright, let's get started on this lesson. Now, if you've done some of my other lessons, you would have seen me do an activity that's very similar to this, but there's a slight variation on it. And even though it's the same activity, me coaching you through it is really going to help you to master it. So here's a picture of a green parrot, and I want you to draw up 8 boxes like this. And then the titles are going to be see, hear, taste, smell, feel, and that's feel physically, feel emotionally, and then these 2 boxes are a little bit different to what I've done in the past. So I want you to do verbs or adverbs, adverbs, and then other, and I'll get to other later on. So pause the video and make sure you've got those 8 boxes. See, hear, taste, smell, feel physically, like with your fingers, feel emotionally with your heart, verbs and adverbs, and other. Then in the box that says see, I want you to write down all the things that you can see. So having a look at this parrot, what can you see? So pause the video and just write down all the things that you can see. So this is what my student wrote: green feathers, red beak, round eyes. So the first thing I said was, those colours are a little bit boring. Let's see if we can come up with some more exciting colours for green. So what I told her to do was go onto Google and do a search for other colours for green. So we're just going to come here to Google, other colours for green. And if you go into images, that helps. So we might come up with, so we've got some great colours here: crocodile, basil, mint, seaweed, fern, pear, pine, emerald. Now, just be a little bit careful because if you choose something that's too obscure, the reader might not know what that is. So if you said seaweed, I know what colour is seaweed. And I know what colour ferns are and mint and crocodiles, but this one here, juniper, I don't know what juniper colour is, or chartreuse wouldn't instantly pop into my mind. So don't choose something that's too obscure, that's too unknown. So I'm going to choose, I sort of like the idea of it being parakeet green, because we're talking about a bird. But if you then say my parakeet is parakeet green, it doesn't really help the reader to understand what colour that is, because if they don't already know what colour a parakeet is, then they're none the wiser. So I would be inclined to go with, say, mint or ferns. If we think back to the picture, if we go back to the picture, I would say that was a mint green or a fern green. So I'm going to put that it's fern green. Then we want to do exactly the same thing with red. So let's see, we've got cherry, rose, merlot, that's kind of wine, garnet, kind of ruby, brick, apple, berry, blood, blush, candy, lots of really good ones there. And I think it's cherry. I think cherry is a really good choice because people know what cherries are. So I'm going to choose cherry. I'm going to say cherry, red, big. Now coming up, it's not just cherry red, it's also got this beautiful curve. And if you compare the size of the beak to the size of the eye, like my eyes and my mouth are about the same size. But this bird's beak is huge in comparison to its eyes. So we might say it's big curved beak. Now, big is boring. So now we're back to going and doing a synonym search for something that is a synonym for big. So synonym big, just come back to all. Let's see, large, sizable, substantial, considerable, great, huge, immense, enormous, extensive, colossal, massive, mammoth. What strikes my fancy? Let's see. Let's have a look in here and see what this has to show for us. Ample. Ample's the one I want. So I'm going to change that to ample. I even just put gigantic and large. And I can have a few words up my sleeve. And then I'm going to come back to its eye. So it's got this itty bitty blue eye, which I'm going to say is sky blue surrounded by desert orange. So it's a tiny sky blue eye surrounded by desert orange ring. Also has a little necklace on it, if you notice. Back up here has this necklace. All right. So if you need to go back and make some changes to your work to make it a little bit less boring, go back and do searches for synonyms to help you find a better word for the words that you're using. Next thing, we're talking about what we can hear. So what kind of sounds do a parrot make? Now, if you can't come up with very many words to start off with, this is where we use the internet. So it's totally okay for you to do a search. What sounds do a parrot make? Well, sorry, what sounds does a parrot make? I should make sure my grammar is correct. All right, parrots sing when they are happy, just like a human in the shower. The song is an ever-changing mixture of birds' favourite sounds, from gurgles, trills, whistles, and squawks. Some parrot species are more musical than others, and many are the bird version of tone deaf. That's cute. All right, so that's told us that they sing, they trill, they gurgle, they whistle, and they squawk. So that's given us some more words that we can use. So we're improving our vocabulary. So now when we go to write it, we've got, like, the only word that was in my head was tweet and squawk. So now I've got gurgle, trill, whistle. Moving on to taste. This is a really great format for all kinds of descriptive writing. In this case, we're probably not going to use taste. Now, if we were writing about a cupcake, then taste would be a winning one here. Probably not going to be tasting our bird. And same thing with smell. Probably might not be able to smell very much. We might be able to smell their poo, and we could write down that we can smell their poo, but we might not get very far. All right, so let's move down to what we can feel physically. So I want you to imagine if you were stroking a bird, what would you feel? So pause the video and have a go at that. All right, so we probably feel something like soft. But again, soft is boring. So we want to come back to our Google search and improve our vocabulary. What synonyms can we find for soft? Soft synonym. Now these first ones up here, mushy, squashy, pulpy, pappy, slushy, sloppy, that's the wrong kind of soft. That's like soft like custard or slime. Here, dim, low, faint, shaded, subdued, muted. Again, that's the wrong kind of soft. So we need to keep on searching until we find the right kind of soft for our context. So if you say the sloppy bird feathers, it's going to seem like your bird's been out in the rain. It's not the effect that you want. All right, so here's some of the ones we want. Silky, smooth, velvety. They're the kind of words we want. So silky, smooth, velvety. And then if you think about their claws, if they're going to come and jump onto your shoulder, then it's going to be sharp. The claws are going to be sharp. They're going to be piercing. You might have a word like talon. And then the actual skin on their hands are going to be, it's going to be leathery. All right, so if you can think of any other words to add there, go in and add them in. All right, now the feelings, the emotional feelings, the ones you feel in your heart, how do your birds make you feel? Now, people are going to have different feelings towards this bird. So in the context of your story, you might be terrified of birds. Like when I was a child, I used to be terrified of chickens. They would like chase me around and it was very scary and I would never go in the chook pen. So if I was writing a story about birds, I might be using words like scared or anxious. For this girl, with her story that she was writing, she loved her pet birds. So she was using words like good. They make me feel good. They make me feel happy. So good, happy. But once again, these are boring words. We want better words than good and happy. So let's see. We don't want find. Find's still a little bit meh. So we've got the wrong kinds here. Virtuous, that's not the right kind. Righteous, morality. These are the wrong kinds of words. Let's see if we come in here what this will tell us. We've got nice, pleasing. These aren't really the words that are the right words for what I'm looking for. So let's change to happy and let's see what happy gives me. Cheerful, content. All right, so content, delights, elated, glad, joyful, jubilant. These are the kinds of words that I want. So I'm going to bring up some of these to add in. Cheerful, delighted, content, elated, joyful, very pleasant. And then I love my birds, so I'm going to put in love and see what comes up now. So I've got affection, Ocean, fond, friendship. So infatuation and lust and passion are the right kinds of words for this context. All right, but that gives us a bit of an idea. So in a simple sentence, we need to have a noun and a verb. And then our adjectives and adverbs improve our sentence. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure we've got really good words to make our sentences better. So we've gone and found lots of really good adjectives to describe our nouns, and now we're going to come up with some great verbs and adverbs to really pull it all in together. Because if you could have the most magnificent, the silken chartreuse of feathers, and then flapped. You just done all this hard work and then got nowhere. So we want to really bring it home with beautiful adverbs and adjectives. Sorry, adverbs and verbs. So what kinds of things do birds do? They fly, they flap, they make sounds, which would be see above. They walk, they would glide, soar. Let's do our search. So we want synonym search for fly, drift, flutter, swoop. And then how might they do that? Well, that's going to depend on the context of your sentence. So it might be gracefully, quickly, slowly. They flapped frantically. They glided majestically. Now, other words, sometimes other words will come into your head which you think will be really good. So if you were describing a queen, you might do something like regal, majestic. So you might like, your birds might be really proud, so you might put them here. They might be regal. They might be spoiled. So words that just sort of pop into your head that don't fit into one of these other boxes, but you feel is important to help you to be able to write the piece. So if it's any of these boxes that you want to fill in that you haven't so far, I want you to go back and fill them in, and then we're going to get started writing our sentences. Okay, so now we're going to write our description. So we can do this either in one big chunk, or we can just sort of write down some sentences that we think that might be helpful for later on. So as I'm writing my story, I might go, oh, that was handy, and just pull that sentence that we wrote before into it. We can just have these words sort of floating around in the back of our mind. So there's different ways we can do it. There's not only one way. You can write a big description. You can just write a little description. You can just have little bits in and out. Depends on how you're doing it. And this is where practice and lots of reading and having a good teacher help you to be able to learn to develop your craft. But for the sake of today, I'm just going to write a paragraph that's going to describe my bird. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a think. So I'm going to look at my bird, I'm going to look at my words, and I'm just going to start to craft them in my mind, how my sentences might come together. So I'm looking at all the feathers, I'm looking at the curve of the wing, I've got the beautiful, the beak. The beak is such a unique part that really just jumps out at you, and then you've got this gorgeous little necklace. And I'm also thinking about the context of the story that my student was writing. So there, she wants to go off on an adventure to rescue her parents. And we can write this saying, giving the bird a name. So I might give the bird the name Angel, or I might just use my bird, or I could say he or she or her or his. All right, Angel sits on my shoulder, her sharp talons digging into my soft skin. I ignore, so this is why editing is important. So I ignore it and stroke her silky feathers, letting my fingers slide down their velvety, her velvety sides until they flick off the end of her tail feathers. So that's a lot of the feel. Now, so I've done feel now. I can come back to it, but I can be pretty happy whether I've at least done that part. And now I can just start to bring in these words here. Soft, fern-coloured feathers. The tiny sky blue eye surrounded by desert orange ring of fire. So I've already done the hard work, so I just have to pull those words into it. So now I've done the things that I can see. And I don't have to use every single word. So I'm gonna finish off. So I've got I need to do here, and I need to do some more of these verbs. So I'm going to put those two in the same sentence. Better do a quick edit. Her soft fern-coloured feathers that, yes, I admire her soft fern-coloured feathers, the tiny sky blue eye surrounded by its desert orange ring of fire. But my focus is always on her magnificent cherry red beak, curved to a sharp, I think peak is right, curved to a sharp, what's that word that I want? Tip. I don't think tip is right. I'm going to do a Google search. I know that this word isn't right, but I can't think of what it's going to be. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to highlight that I need to come back to it. I'm going to leave it because I don't want to get so caught up being all like, oh, what's the word? And then not keep on going. Sometimes the words will just spin around in your brain and then they'll go, oh, that's the word I'm looking for. So don't get caught up on the words. Then with a heavy launch, she soars off my hand, flapping higher and higher until she suddenly spins and glides down majestically, trilling and gurgling in delight. Trilling and gurgling in delight as the air rushes through the soft, downy feathers on her belly. And then lastly, we want to talk about my emotions. I am filled with joy as I watch her merry flight. Cheerfully until she settles back down on my shoulder, nuzzling and nipping at my earlobe, gently and affectionately letting me know she loves me as much as I love her. Right, so I just need to see if I can fix that word curved to a sharp point, tip. Maybe point was the word that I'm thinking of, because that's how I got peak, point and peak. All right, let's do a whole big check, and then we know we're done. So, Angel sits on my shoulder, her sharp talons digging into my soft skin. I ignore it and stroke her feathers, letting my fingers... Actually, I might just make that a full stop. I ignore it and stroke her silky feathers, letting my fingers slide down her velvety sides until they flick off the end of her tail feathers. She hops merrily down my arm onto my hand, and now I can admire her in her resplendent beauty. Admire her resplendent beauty. I've got two admires too close to each other, which is just as well I did this full check. So I want a synonym for admire. Now, if you are doing this in Word, you come up here to review. You have to highlight the word thesaurus. Appreciate. Yeah, appreciate will do. I appreciate her soft fern-coloured feathers, the tiny sky blue eye surrounded by its desert orange ring of fire. But my focus is always on her magnificent cherry red beak, curved to a sharp point, ready to nibble or strike at her own whim. Then, with a heavy launch, she soars off my hand, flapping higher and higher until she suddenly spins and glides down majestically, trilling and gurgling in delight as the air rushes through her soft downy feathers on her belly. I am filled with joy as I watch her merry flight, gazing cheerfully until she settles back down on my shoulder, nuzzling and nipping at my earlobe, gently and affectionately letting me know she loves me as much as I love her. I hope you found that lesson fun and you enjoyed describing your parrot. Now go off and describe whatever it is that you would like and use that in your writing. Again, if you would like to join my World of Wordcraft program, it's open to children throughout Australia from Year 3 to Year 6. Just head to bloomgrow.com.au and you're very welcome to come and join me, and I'll help support you with similar activities, and then you can have the fun of joining in those competitions. And it's really great because it's all small group work, so you'll be able to meet other children who are just like you, who are really driven to be able to succeed in their writing, and you get to share ideas and learn off each other, and it's a really good way of learning. So come along, have some fun, and I'm really looking forward to having you being a part of it. Thanks so much for joining me today for this lesson. I'll see you next time.